Welcome to Real Leaders with Roshini. This is the podcast with real leaders, real questions, real insight, and we hope real inspiration. For real. My guest today is Kath. She is the Executive Vice President of Business Development and Design at Cambria. Summer, thanks so much for being with me today. I want you to, first of all, tell people what your title even means.
Oh my gosh. Well, since I've been with Cambria for 17 years, I have been so lucky to create my dream job. So even though the title says Business Development and Design, when you're with a company from the beginning as employee 30, and now we're over 2,000, you or myself, you just begin to kind of take on responsibilities where you see, or I have taken on things where I see that I can really help the business. So I've really been able to shape my own career, which is amazing. I say Cambria and I grew up together. And today I do whatever it takes to go out and develop relationships to move the business forward, to open up opportunities that others might not think about, to kind of search different corners of the world for opportunities that are very creative, that can drive business for Cambria. And in there, I also get inspiration to design the Cambria surfaces.
All right, let's talk about this because you do travel quite a bit. Yeah. And people out there might not realize when they look at these Cambria surfaces that they're inspired by Rome, by Greece, by places all over the globe. And you're the person who gets to do the traveling and then inspire that design. So give people a little insight on that process.
It is really interesting, and I absolutely love what I get to do every day. No one told me to go out and just go travel the world and go find inspiration. I think it just really organically evolved. I've been working with the Cambria R&D team at our plant in Le Sueur for about 11 years. And, you don't go to school to design quartz countertops. That's just not something that everyone does. Or even, as a child says, someday I want to design quartz countertop. It is such an interesting thing. And really, I fell into it and just organically developed what does that mean? Because it's not like an interior designer where you're curating and putting together a home. I mean, you are working with chemistry and engineering and how you make these designs. But what's really amazing is we like to be inspired by nature. We want to create something that people want in their home that feels organic. And so traveling and going to design shows in London and Milan and Paris, those are important because the interior design world, they're going to those shows also. And so you want to create a surface and a countertop that's going to live in the environment that today's designers are creating for homeowners. But you also need to be eyes wide open to the world and looking at landscapes. So when I've been in Greece, you said, and looking at the Aegean Sea and really being inspired just by the reflectivity and the tones and the colors. I've taken home rocks from trips in mountains and brought them home and matched up the tonality and the ruggedness to create something that is organic, rugged, and refined. And it takes a while to finesse these countertops because the process is like making brownies. It's so interesting. It really is, and it's very sophisticated, but yet very simple as well, and it's like art. So as we go through the process, we continue to refine and take this inspiration from all over the world, or even right here in our backyard, and you really, like an artist, you have to get to that point where you go, I'm going to step away now, and it's ready. And that's interesting.
What a great feeling. Interesting process. I also know, Summer, that you get to travel the world and meet very high-profile people, go to some of the A-list kind of party events. So give our listeners and viewers an insight into that part of your world.
Well, first, I want to say it's not as glamorous as it looks on Instagram. It's really fun. I love it. I think I'm wired to do it. And, it just became organic in our business as we started to develop relationships. It started, Cheryl Tiegs was one of the first supermodels, celebrities that we brought on as a brand.
So talk about that. I wanted to get into this. Why Cheryl Tiegs? Why some of these other brand ambassadors?
Cheryl was good friends with Marty Davis, our CEO, and he met her through a friend of ours. She was hanging out here, and she was dating a gentleman here, Dan Buettner, and so she spent 8 years in Minnesota. She grew up in Minnesota. She truly has the Midwestern values and work ethic, and I think Marty saw that in her and felt that she could, because we were growing our brand, and she could help elevate, as celebrities do. A lot of brands, obviously, that's what they, pay celebrities to do. But for us, it became a real relationship. She became a part of the family. I was assigned, 15 years ago, to handle her. And, here I am in my mid-30s at this point, probably going, oh, okay. And I didn't know who Cheryl Tiegs was because I was a little young. But I quickly found out how powerful her brand is. I mean, young men had her poster, up, and she was a huge Sears ambassador.
She was one of the first supermodels that helped to define that term.
She was the first supermodel to have a name that people knew. She was on Time cover 3 times, Sports Illustrated 3 times, but she truly had a personality and really cared about people. And I learned a lot about her, how to be gracious and graceful. And even if you have the limelight and everybody, loves and wants to know you, you have to treat people really well and with decency. And so she truly embodied that. And it was an amazing person to represent Cambria, because that was who we are. We want to be inspirational. We want to be this sophisticated brand, but we also want to be approachable, and we want to have the Midwestern sensibilities. And so we really learned the power of having an ambassador and a celebrity that still embodied those values. And so as we met Cheryl, we continued to meet more and more. Alana Stewart, which is Rod Stewart's first wife, we met all her friends. And then we started to go to parties in Los Angeles, and this just became, we realized that by meeting people like this, they're influential. And they have a sphere of influence. And it's not just about celebrity. They're business people also. And they know business people. And we realized that through those relationships that we could open up opportunities for Cambria that were not just about having celebrity endorsers. It was about leveraging those relationships to get Cambria into circles that were not easily attainable. But those relationships opened the doors. We'd walk in, I would walk in, and then you talk business. And those business people have businesses that opened up commercial opportunities for Cambria, which are much bigger volumes than just residential.
All right, on Real Leaders with Roshini, we also want you to learn from some of our real leaders, get some insight, get some inspiration, and also learn who this real leader is. So you are such a great ambassador for Cambria, Summer, but now I want people to get to know you a little bit. What makes Summer Kath tick?
I love that question. In fact, I'm working with a speechwriter now, and one of the things she asked me is, what makes you tick? And it was so interesting what we came to. I love people. I love to, when I meet somebody, what really gets me going is when I figure out what makes them tick. Because when I figure that out, as we're, developing a relationship, we can quicker get to a situation where we can find mutual benefit. So if I can figure out, Roshini, what makes you tick and what drives you and what are your problems today, or what are the things that you aspire to do. If I know all those things, I might not come up with it today like, oh, this is how I think we could do something together, partner, or I may know somebody else that can help you. You're planting a seed in me, and I'm planting a seed in you. So in the future, when we meet other people, we can put people together. And so I feel like I am a collector of people, and I am a connector when I can figure out what those connection points are. And when 1 + 1 can equal 10 in a situation, that's when we can win. And you just continue with that momentum.
I love that you say that, because a lot of times people think, how do I get more for me? But you're saying, I want to learn from you, I want to give you some of me, and together we go out there, whether we see each other again or not, but we're a greater force because we have met and we have this vision of 1 + 1 equaling 10 or more.
Yeah, and being with Cambria for 17 years, and I've applied this thing for 15 years all over the world. You said, I get to go out and meet people. I've spent a lot of time in Toronto. For 6 years, I went there a week a month and to develop that market for Cambria. And today, it is a very strong market, and I have a lot of friends. I get phone calls, emails on a weekly basis of people that I've planted seeds for that have a new opportunity because they came across another opportunity and they thought of me. And so what's really important in those situations is not just to plant the seed, but to be memorable and to be genuine in that they know that you have their best interest at mind. Meaning, I'm not just looking to take something from you. I really want to help you. I like you. Hopefully we have this mutual respect. And if we can't figure something out right now to help each other out, the future, I think we will.
As we sit here in Capitol Grill in downtown Minneapolis, we're going to wind down Real Leaders with Roshini with some real questions, Summer. So a bit of a fire round, okay? Okay. So like I said, we're here in Capitol Grill. If you were a drink or a cocktail or a liqueur, what would you be?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Today, on this snowy, wintry day, I would be a Cabernet for sure.
All right, a Cabernet. Who would you say is one of your biggest mentors in life?
Gosh, it is really hard to say one big one. I would say Cheryl Tiegs was a really big one for me. She still continues to be a friend. When I go to Los Angeles, I'll visit her. I've stayed at her home. My boss, our CEO, Marty Davis, huge. I continue to learn from him every day.
And what is one of the biggest, maybe you might have at the time called a mistake, but you've really gathered or gleaned some big learnings?
Wow.
Going deep on Real Leaders.
I don't know that this is one catastrophic mistake, but one thing about my personality I've learned a lot in life and at Cambria, that mistake but yet led me to be much stronger as a leader and as a coworker and as a human. My personality as a driver, I've learned that I can come off cavalier or just as a bulldozer, and that puts people off.
And sometimes people call that other B word for women when you're a driver.
That's right. And we learn when those things happen, and we just learn to temper our communications and our demeanor. So
we know you really are impressed with and adore Cheryl Tiegs, but of all the places you've been and people you've met, is there a place, an event, or a person that's really been just at the top for you?
Yes. Last year, I had the opportunity to go to Kyoto, which is the most magical, amazing place I've ever been. And it was for a design conference. And so for 4 days, I spent time immersed with the elite design community, 100 of the top designers in the United States. And we all experienced temples and all kinds of rituals of Kyoto together, and it bonded us. And it was such an interesting thing to be with so many Americans in such a foreign land and to take it all in together. And those relationships, we became friends first, and now we do business together. So it was really that full circle of how those intimate relationships and experiences bring people together so that they want to do business together when you get back to your real life.
Excellent. Well, Aristotle said that excellence is not an act, it is a habit. And you have made excellence part of your life in the people you seek out, the places you go, and how you lead. So, Summer Kath, thanks for being a real leader with Roshini today. Any final thoughts for our folks?
My only final thoughts are that sometimes you don't direct exactly what your career is going to be or your successes. For me, I remember I always knew that someone would say, "Where are you going to be in 5 years?" And I would always say, I don't know, but it's going to be somewhere pretty amazing, and I don't want to put a cap on it. I want to let it happen, and I want it to be better than I could ever imagine it. And I continue to think that way, and it's done me well.
Like a good bottle of Cabernet, you're letting it breathe. All right, Summer Kath from Cambria, thanks for being on Real Leaders with Roshini. Until next time, folks, let's keep it real.